Welcome to Steel Curtain Productions, and glad to see you back. I'm back in my actual regular studio, so no longer in the living room. This is my men's quarter, and as you can see, my pride and joy jersey there, and I've got several, but that's my pride and joy. So back in our actual studio, I did some clearing out of the room. I had to get rid of the weights to make some room so that I could utilize this better. Anyway, we're back. So please hit the likes and subscribe down below in your right-hand corner. And yes, I'm much quieter in off season, and I will be for a bit because as preseason goes, because I tend to take a bit of vacation time in the summer. However, I'll try to jump in here and there. I don't tend to, in this period of time, make tons of videos in the off season because I know there's so much hype, so many rumors, and that's not my style. I like to kind of stick to the facts. When something actually goes down, I'll get in here and talk about it, but rumors have been flying so much, I just can't jump on that bandwagon. Some people just like to put any story out there and jump on bandwagons for a story to get, views, I guess. Maybe that's what it is. And sometimes they'll use clickbait, but I don't operate that way. But anyway, we did have some exciting news on Wednesday, and I just got back from the country, so I would have made this sooner, but yeah, like I say, I have work to be done in the country at the camp, and I'll be doing a lot of that because that's what only time of year I can do it. So anyhow, let's get to it. Just as the title states, Sutton is back in the Steel Curtain. Great news in the sense as we know his off the field situation, and yes, we know he didn't have the greatest season when he last year going to Detroit. However, you package everything together. Number one, I'm not going to get into debating on his personal life. I don't know the details. I know that it's a domestic violence scenario from what they say, but when you don't know the stories, it's their personal business, and I really don't like. I hope it's all good. That it's not the way the media's pumped it up to be, or they make a bigger story just to make a story. So anyway, on that behalf, I will not get into judging people. That's not my gig. Now, if somebody's a dirt bag, I will say something. I don't know the details, and Sutton's always done well for us here in Steel Land. So I'm glad to see the return of Sutton, and I'm not that concerned about his numbers in Detroit last year. For me, you're going to a different system. Franchises will, use guys differently. Plus, he might have been put into a chair a little higher than he should have been in Detroit, being the top guy. Whereas in Steel Land, we have guys, in the proper place, and Sutton's been a part of that and did quite well in his years here. So I'm quite happy to see his presence. He's got the experience that I think is going to help out on the back end. Again, I just like what he brings to the team. I will not get into commenting on the charges and his personal life. It would be, and I think it's not right for us to comment when we don't know the whole details. Now, sometimes you get a classic case of a guy's just a loose cannon like Antonio Brown was. That's a different story. This is not quite the same. Sutton was never quite in your face and off the rocker like that. So this kind of caught the football world a little bit by surprise. But anyway, we don't know the full details of it. I'm not going to discuss it in that mannerism. I'm glad to see Sutton back. He's happy to be back. I think it's going to help for the he fits in the Steelers system so much better, and he will help this unit. Good communicator. I think you're going to see his numbers get back to where they were when he was here. Let's hope the noise on the outside world gets settled quickly so that it's behind them. And I'm proud of the Steelers for keeping in touch with them, making sure the family there was okay, and reaching out to them. And where the Lions dropped them, great. This was a great opportunity because the Steelers couldn't sign them last year. They were outbid by the Lions last year. Wanted to keep him most definitely, I'm sure. And now they got him back, and for a much cheaper price for the time being, and he gets a 1 year trial, which I think works for all parties and just shows the loyalty of the Steelers organization. However, and again, when I look at the Steelers, I know that I think they must view him the same way I'm kind of looking at him, and they know much better than us. Um, but looking from the outside, it's evident that the Steelers don't do this all the time. They're not going to do it to guys like the Browns and guys like that are off the rocker, and those type of situations. It's hasta la vista, see you later, because there's so many character flaws in those individuals. But with Cam Sutton, he was always pretty classy while we had him, and really did the job quite well. And I think his leadership presence is going to make a difference on the back. We're going to need it, to be quite frank. And so, yeah, welcome back, Sutton. And I pray to God, and I hope people let up on his personal life and let the details be handled by the courts. And let's pray to God that, it's being blown out of proportion, that type of thing. Anyway, so welcome back, Sutton. Good to see. That's a great re-sign, I think. I know they let go of a tight end. And we had a small re-sign, of some agents on much smaller news, like Grayland, another defensive back, was signed at the same day, and Jenkins was a small signing for wide receivers. I'm not happy with the wide receiver situation. I'll be quite frank. And that's why I haven't gotten out anytime I've been around, checking up on the updates. It's the continual BS that some of these sites are putting up. Oh, they make it look like the Steelers signed this big, uh, you know, sign of a wide receiver from different places. Like, we've heard Metcalf, some outlets were making it sound like we had him. Then again, we had, I forget his name there in San Fran. There's two of them there anyway that we were looking at, and Ayuk, and they made it look like we had him, and that's what I'm saying. The false reports. That's why I avoided it until I actually see a big blockbuster trade made. I'm not getting into rumors, and people have run away with the rumors. So signing Jenkins, I think that's just a fill-in. Um, you know, basically. And I don't really feel that we've done enough with that position. And I really do hope we do make an upgrade there, because we need one. We need one. I mean, I know Johnson, I was very glad to see him gone. Always knew he was a prima donna, did not like his play, and he just wasn't a team guy. That's great that you get rid of him. And yes, no, he was more of a third, number 3 wide receiver. However, in saying that, you still got to replace them with better quality. And we haven't seen that come to fruition yet. We have, a couple of the players that they picked up that could be equal. Nobody that stands out, though, because I honestly think Pickens is our number 1 at this point. And I would rather see him support it a little better with an actual number 1, just to give him time to grow. Or someone equal to him at least in those categories. But they got to upgrade the position. To me, you're making a mistake if you avoid it. I think they're doing a fine. I love the way we drafted. I think we did outstanding in the draft. Free agency is a hard one. Queen, I like that signing. A couple of the cornerbacks, I like. A couple of veterans. But that's why I lean back. Some people will go, like in the OTAs to practicing, they're looking great, and the reporters tend to blow it out of proportion, and they do this all the time. I don't know why, but it always seems to. I know the Steelers are always fall suspect to the high grades in pre workouts and off-season play, and it bothers me because look, last year was a perfect example of it. They blew them out of proportion before the season as being one of the top runners, and they were going to be this outstanding. And that's why I don't listen to reporters. I think they're out for a story. They're trying to get the views and make the money off their columns. That's all they're about. I'm not about that. And so you will not see me go on a high unless there's an exceptional sign that throws us over the top. Like, I mean, down the road at some point, we are going to need a number one quarterback. What I'm saying there is Russell Wilson. This is a good 1-2 punch right now, and I'm hoping that uh, that Fields can learn a lot from Russell, and I think it's a good 1-2 punch. My problem is, and good signings, they can be an upgrade to Pickens and the regime we had last year. I don't like the way we went about our backup quarterback. I think we should have brought Dobbs in, somebody familiar, and never really given that full chance with an actual O line. So to me, I look at that as a mistake, as your cushion pad for the quarterback, because I think Dobbs technically could have actually outright won that top spot. He's got some unbottled talent there that just needs the right situation. And I think the Steelers are building that with our line now. And so I think this would have been the opportunity, but they didn't go that way. So I don't know if Fields will. That's this is the 1 year to see what these two are going to do. If Fields will change his character issues and can be worked with, and he's with a perfect guy, Russell Wilson, because I think Russell will be more responsible and has good numbers responsible wise. However, even though there could be good signings on this team, the one thing nobody thinks about is it's got to gel. Everything, great to see these names on paper. It's got to gel and come together. And they got to come together as a group. So when you listen, you got to block out the noise, the media. So for me, okay, we're not totally sure. We've let some big names go. We've brought in some guys. Now, our draft was beautiful. I just think our free agency thing is something we have to wait till the season to see. It's a wait and see situation. I think and I will stand by that. I don't tend to I still think we're in such a tough division. I'm projecting us to be in the bottom. Now, that's so that it's showing that I'm not getting my hopes up. Yes, I want us back. I think we are headed in the right direction, but I think we got to bite the bullet periodically, and I think it's well due time to get a number one wide receiver. And I know, I like the options for me. I like the options of because we know Boyd was one of them that we were after, but he got signed or deal or whatever. Anyway, he went elsewhere. But best options left are Metcalf and Ayuk and the other gentleman that they were looking at in San Fran. So to me, I'm hoping they go that route. I don't want them to take the low road, which is what they commonly have done in that position. It's like they've been unwilling. Now, I know that I think they should really make sure the character is good. I think that should be your first big thing. I am all about, I'm still, and I will put 100% support. I'd love to see us get Metcalf. That's just me. I think he would be the perfect addition. Now, I don't know personality-wise, cultural-wise, what type of individual he is. I don't have enough info on that. So hopefully they do. But if he doesn't seem to be causing issues in Seattle. Ayuk doesn't seem to be causing problems in San Fran, and nor is the second fellow, I forget his name, in San Fran. Those three don't seem to be causing any team disruptions. So to me, I would hope for Steelers with what's left out there, that those options would be an upgrade and be in the realm of what we need. And I don't think we can avoid it. We got to stop going with these little, like when I see these signings, nothing against Jenkins and guys like that, but they're really, to me, they're just not what we really need to, if we're trying to bolster the position, to upgrade it. And it has to be done, because if we don't get a weapon there, we're going to have some issues. I don't care what anyone says, and I'm a little concerned with what's going on with them and Harris. Is it just it sounded like he didn't want them to pick up that option year. So that's kind of concerning. Maybe he's feeling threatened with Warren. But I can see from the Steelers' standpoint, I think he's done a lot for not having the protection. Let's see how he does with a good O-line. And he was showing better numbers last year as we were improving the O-line. So I thought that was promising. Does he have a battle? I think, yeah. I think, you can look at flip side of both sides of that coin. I think the Steelers are right in the sense they need to see more from him. He was a top number one draft pick. Man, I want to see a little more from him now. Once that line is healed, I want to see the explosiveness of him. And I think he can be. I don't think he's a Henry by any stretch of the imagination. But I think he's one of those ones just below Henry that could be, partially explosive that way. I think Henry's a freak in nature. He's kind of like beast mode and our bus. And those guys were exceptions. Um, and Le'Veon Bell was even pretty good that way back in the day. But they had great O lines as well. So that to me, I hope I hope we just don't let that talent walk away for nothing. I can see both sides. I hope he's not wanting out after the season. I'm hoping that it's for both sides. Let's see some proof now in the pudding. Things are improving on the line protection wise. Let's see what you can actually do. And I believe the Steelers are a quality organization as long as he's not a prima donna. And I don't think he is. But I think he definitely seems to be a little threatened by Warren a bit. I think that needs to be nipped out. But for me, the thing is, go out on the field and prove it and win the spot outright. Be the number one guy. Do it on the field. Don't worry about running your mouth. When I played football, I didn't work that way. When I played hockey, I didn't work that way. I went out, did my job on the field, and proved it. I didn't worry about threats. I earned my spots, and I think that's what we need to see more out of these pro athletes. When I see anybody with personality issues that way, that puts themselves above a team. When I coached, I was crushing that. It was unacceptable on my squad, and that was just that, because that'll ruin an entire team. But that's not to say Harris has that. I just think right now we're seeing the odd insecurities. At least he's not at the level of Johnson and Brown, anything close to that, or Le'Veon Bell. So, again, I think that's a good, let's prove to each other, and I think the Steelers should reward him if he wins it and shows us why they drafted him. Again, Warren's an exceptional, that's a great 1-2 punch to have, and I think the two of them should be able to have their little marriage together and be happy with it and not be threatened by each other, because I think they both bring two different styles to the table. There's a lot of speed in Warren that Harris doesn't have, but there's a lot of power in Harris that Warren doesn't have. So I think these are a great 1-2 punch, and if they can learn, and that's what culture we really need to work and be eyeballing, because culture has been killing us for a while now when we got away from it. And it's all started, after a couple of years of Brown being there. You started seeing guys getting a little too big on themselves, like him and Le'Veon Bell. They kind of, the heads were rearing up. And we got to get a grip on that, because we should have won way more Super Bowls during that period when we had that strong of a team. And it showed you what a bad culture had screwed them out of their opportunities for a few Super Bowls. So I think we have to be focused on culture. don't get yourself high on listening to these reporters' projections, because you got to go back in history. Each year, actually, it's pretty easy. We always get this high praise and overblown projections, and I stay clear of it. I need to see, and what I've always understood about sport, doesn't matter how big the names are. I've seen guys that just, even things I was in, teams that I've been involved in, guys that you would have thought would blow things off the charts, and they weren't team players, and it didn't work. So it's the same thing. We see it in professional sports. These teams, sometimes they look phenomenal on paper, and then they can be a disaster as the season goes on. So we need to see, hold the horses, and that's my recommendation for Steelers Nation. Hold the horses. Don't put the cart before the horses. Yes, I do love the way we drafted this year. I thought that was phenomenal. I think we really were one of the big winners in this year's draft, but that's going to take some time to develop these kids too into your system, and they're going to need touches to improve. So that takes time. Some of them might be able to jump in immediately. Some of them are going to need some work longer, that may not be on the field immediately this season. We'll see. But you can't get like I said, the cart before the horse. You got to wait till it comes together, because it doesn't matter how well it looks on paper. Putting a team on paper to putting them on the field is a totally different ball game. Totally different. And I think the biggest aspect of it all is to build on culture. That's got to be adamant. Get these guys to be team oriented first, so that they're playing for each other. And that's more important. You get them playing for each other and get them close and knitted, then you start to create a winning culture, a team that will go for it together and give everything. So I think that's what we keep focusing on. Ignore the noise. I love the Sutton return. Again, I would, even with that story, so many stories that sometimes you need to stay clear of it. It's like, I know the Watson story in Cleveland was he had that nightmare of that whole situation of when he was with Houston. Although when he became available, that was the guy I wanted, because I did see him at that time before he missed the season due to his problems. I seen him as a quarterback and I think he could have been. I think he's lost a step or two. I still think he's deadly. Don't get me wrong, but I think he lost a step or two, to guys like Mahomes and Allen. Whereas I think he could have been front runner still. However, so I thought that would have been the answer for the Steelers. However, character flaws. Is that the case? But then again, I looked at the Steelers, and we had so many guys with character flaws already that I don't think it would have been any darn different. And even seeing Pickett, this young kid who you thought was going to be the future quarterback, and the attitude, what you can't accept a veteran quarterback coming in, and I was willing to stay on the ride. I didn't see anything. I seen smart ball from him, where he wasn't throwing interceptions. That was good. But I didn't see that explosiveness when he needed to be, to get back, to start, when you need to make a burst to catch up in a game. Those plays, that I didn't see from him, that urgency. He just didn't seem to have that extra gear. So, but I did not know. I thought he was a classier kid than what it ended up being. To get that in. And that's why I say culture is so important. And it seemed like he had some flaws culturally himself. He wanted to be the guy, and a little too big on himself. So that's, you could see him and Johnson button heads, because when you have that mentality, and you gotta cut it out. It's like anything else. If you got a disease in the wound, you gotta cut it out. You gotta get the poison out. And I think we've done that. Now we just although we brought in some question marks, where Fields has had major issues, they're going to have to, hopefully he's young enough to change his direction and turn him into a different person, help build his character into a better character than what he had in Chicago. So we'll see. But and Russell Wilson, he's a good veteran. Although there's always been a little bit of yeah when he was in Denver and even in Seattle towards the end in Seattle. So, but I still think I've always liked Russell, but he's older, and that's what we got to remember. I mean, I think that don't kid yourself. Fields has got the talent if he can get himself together and listen and become a team guy that he could take over that number one role. There's no doubt in my mind, but it's going to be up to him. So I do think the Steelers are headed in the right direction. I will not put my head out there and say they're going to be one of the best teams in the league. I don't see it. The league, and especially the AFC North, is so, that division is stacked. So, can we compete in it? Sure, we can compete in it, but I feel like we're basically the closest team we can compete with, and that was last year too, is Cincinnati. I think Baltimore right now are the kings of the pen in the AFC North. I just like everything they did, and they always do. They seem to have taken, and we know that they took their notepads out many when they started out, and utilized and used a lot of the Steelers' ways of building teams, and it paid off outrageously for them, and they've stuck to that what do you call it? That basis, basically that platform. They've stuck to that foundation, and then Cleveland has come a long ways. Deadly team. I think Cleveland is a team that always underachieves for the talent they got. I think if anything, they could have last year been the top dog and didn't because there's better character in the Ravens organization. So with me, that's why I say even though reporters are saying we're much improved and the trajectory looks good in the OTAs, that's great. I will not get myself pumped up to the degree when then the season comes and you see a totally different team on the field because it was just over inflated. So let's hope stick with our Steelers, and we always do. But let's not get out of whack, and let's not let anybody drag us down the wrong road. Let's hope that this team is building a character team, and I still say in the future, if we got to keep our minds out. Fields, there's a lot of work to do there. He could be something for the future. Will he be? So it leaves it open that we may be looking for a starting quarterback, a young starting quarterback at some point in time. Now that we're getting our line to where it is. So, we know that we're in a situation now. We got to get our receiver situation solved right now. We were buying time with Russell Wilson and Fields at the moment. So we'll see how that goes. But we'll see. So I just wanted to put that update out there. And like I say, unfortunately, my updates will be far and few between because I'm out of town a lot. But anytime I come back, I will try to throw the video out there, and I felt I had to, and was very excited just to see Sutton back in because I think sometimes you'll lose key guys, it's I wouldn't mind seeing a couple of the other fellows come back too. I'm trying to think, defensive linemen. Anyway, so anytime you get a guy like that was that crucial, it's nice to get him returning, seeing them reunite. So that being said, that's all that I have for this episode. We shall see as the time goes on because we know exhibitions will be coming up in the near future. I caution Steelers Nation to think practically. Don't get over excited, and so your bubbles burst. So thank you for joining me at the Steel Curtain. We will catch you in the next one. Go Steelers Nation, go.